The morning sun cast long shadows across Peachtree Street as Raymond Cole stepped out of his hotel in downtown Atlanta. He had arrived in the city the night before, exhausted from the flight, but energized by the opportunity ahead. After 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder at First National Bank, he had finally made it. Regional Director for the Southeast Division. It was the kind of promotion that changed lives, the kind that came with corner offices, executive perks, and the power to shape entire communities through financial policy. But Raymond wasn't thinking about corner offices that morning. He was thinking about the 12 branch locations under his new jurisdiction, and more specifically, about the one on Peachtree that had been flagged in recent internal audits. Loan approval rates were suspiciously low for minority applicants. Customer complaints had tripled in the past year. Employee turnover was the highest in the region. The numbers told a story, but Raymond wanted to see the reality for himself. So he had made a decision. Before his official introduction at the regional meeting scheduled for tomorrow, he would visit the Peachtree branch unannounced, not as the new regional director, but as an ordinary customer. He wanted to see how the staff treated people when they thought no one important was watching. He wanted to see the culture that had been allowed to fester under the previous administration. Raymond dressed deliberately that morning. No suit, no tie, no expensive watch or leather briefcase, just a simple navy polo shirt, khaki pants, and casual loafers. He left his corporate credentials at the hotel and grabbed a worn canvas messenger bag he'd bought years ago. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw exactly what he intended. A regular guy. Unremarkable. Invisible. Perfect. He walked the 6 blocks to the bank, taking in the neighborhood. Atlanta was a city of contrasts, old money and new money, historic neighborhoods and gleaming skyscrapers. The Peachtree branch sat in the heart of the business district, a modern glass and steel structure that screamed success and stability. Raymond pushed through the revolving doors and stepped into the cool, air-conditioned lobby. The interior was exactly what you'd expect from a flagship branch. Marble floors, contemporary furniture, flat-screen displays showing stock tickers and financial news. A receptionist sat behind a sleek desk, barely glancing up as he entered. Raymond took a moment to observe. 3 teller windows, all occupied, a waiting area with leather chairs, and in the back, a row of glass-walled offices where the real decisions got made. He approached the receptionist, a young woman with perfectly applied makeup and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Good morning," Raymond said pleasantly. "I'd like to speak with someone about a small business loan." The receptionist's smile faltered slightly. She gave him a quick once-over, her gaze lingering on his casual clothes and messenger bag. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, I was hoping someone might have a few minutes." She hesitated, then picked up her phone. "Let me see if anyone's available." Raymond waited, standing casually with his hands in his pockets. He watched the receptionist speak in low tones, her eyes flicking back to him once or twice. After a moment, she hung up. "Miss Hendricks can see you," she said, her tone professional but cool. "Second office on the left." "Thank you," Raymond replied. He walked toward the offices, noting the way other employees glanced at him. There was something in their expressions, a mixture of curiosity and dismissal. He was being sized up, judged, categorized. It was a feeling he knew well, one that no amount of success or education ever completely erased. The second office belonged to Patricia Hendricks, branch manager. Her name was etched on a brass placard outside the door. Through the glass wall, Raymond could see her sitting at her desk, reviewing something on her computer. She was a woman in her early 50s, impeccably dressed in a burgundy suit, her platinum blonde hair styled in a sharp bob. Everything about her screamed authority and control. Raymond knocked lightly on the open door. Patricia looked up, and for just a fraction of a second, Raymond saw it. The flicker of judgment, the quick assessment, the decision already being made before he'd even spoken a word. "Come in," she said, her voice polite but distant. Raymond entered and extended his hand. Raymond Cole. "Thanks for seeing me on short notice." Patricia shook his hand briefly, her grip perfunctory. Patricia Hendricks, branch manager. Please, have a seat. Raymond sat in one of the chairs across from her desk. The leather was expensive, the kind that whispered rather than creaked. Patricia folded her hands on her desk, her posture perfect, her expression neutral. So, she began, I understand you're interested in a small business loan. That's right, Raymond said. I'm looking to start a business, nothing too large to begin with, but I need some capital to get things moving. Patricia nodded slowly. What kind of business? Consulting, Raymond replied. Business strategy, operational efficiency. I've worked in corporate environments for years, and I think there's a market for helping smaller companies optimize their operations. It was all true, actually. Raymond had considered doing consulting work on the side for years, though he'd never had the time. But the story was believable, and it gave him a legitimate reason to be here. Patricia's expression didn't change. I see. And how much are you looking to borrow? $50,000 to start, Raymond said. Enough to cover initial expenses, marketing, maybe hire an assistant. Patricia picked up a pen and made a note on a pad of paper. And what kind of collateral do you have? Raymond had anticipated the question. I own my home, he said. It's worth about $200,000. I also have savings and a solid credit history. Patricia nodded, still writing. And your current employment? I'm between jobs at the moment, Raymond said. That's part of why I'm starting the business. I left my last position a few months ago. It wasn't entirely a lie. He had left his previous position as assistant regional director when he accepted the promotion. But he phrased it carefully, wanting to see how she would react. Patricia set down her pen and looked at him directly. Mr. Cole, I appreciate you coming in, but I have to be honest with you. Without current employment and with the loan amount you're requesting, I don't think we can help you. Raymond kept his expression neutral. Even with the collateral and credit history? Patricia's smile was thin, almost patronizing. The issue isn't just about collateral. It's about your ability to repay. Without a steady income, you're a significant risk. And frankly, the consulting market is saturated. The likelihood of your business generating enough revenue to service the debt is questionable. Raymond leaned forward slightly. I understand your concerns, but I have 15 years of corporate experience. I've managed teams, improved operational metrics, and saved companies millions in inefficiencies. I'm confident in my ability to succeed. Patricia's smile didn't waver. I'm sure you believe that, Mr. Cole. But belief doesn't pay back loans. We have to look at the numbers, and the numbers don't support approval. There was something in her tone, something just beneath the surface. Raymond heard it clearly. This wasn't just about numbers. This was about judgment, about who she thought deserved a chance and who didn't. He decided to push, just a little. Is there any scenario where you'd consider approving the loan? Any additional documentation or guarantees I could provide? Patricia sighed, as if explaining something to a child. Mr. Cole, I've been in banking for 25 years. I know a risky proposition when I see one. You're asking for a substantial amount of money with no current income and a business plan that's frankly speculative at best. My job is to protect the bank's interests, and approving this loan would not be in those interests. She slid a generic business card across the desk. I'd suggest you come back when you have stable employment and a more concrete plan. Perhaps we can revisit the conversation then. Raymond took the card, his expression calm. So that's a no. That's a no, Patricia confirmed. I'm sorry we couldn't be more helpful. But she didn't look sorry. She looked satisfied, comfortable, like she'd handled an inconvenient situation and could now move on to more important things. Raymond stood, tucking the card into his pocket. I appreciate your time, Miss Hendricks. Of course, Patricia said, already turning her attention back to her computer. Raymond walked out of her office, through the lobby, and out into the Atlanta morning. He took a deep breath, letting the frustration settle. He hadn't expected to be approved, of course. That wasn't the point. The point was to see how he'd be treated, and the answer was now crystal clear. Patricia Hendricks had judged him the moment he walked in. She had seen his clothes, his casual demeanor, and made assumptions about who he was and what he deserved. She hadn't asked about his experience in detail. She hadn't explored alternative structures or creative solutions. She had simply said no, wrapped it in professional language, and sent him on his way. But what Patricia didn't know, what she couldn't possibly have known, was that Raymond had recorded the entire conversation. Georgia was a one-party consent state, and the small recording device in his messenger bag had captured every word, every dismissive tone, every condescending smile. He walked back to his hotel, already planning his next move. Tomorrow, the regional meeting would take place. Branch managers from across the Southeast would gather to meet their new regional director. Patricia Hendricks would be there, expecting a routine introduction, maybe some policy updates and strategic objectives. Instead, she was going to get the shock of her life. The conference room at the First National Bank regional headquarters was an impressive space. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the Atlanta skyline. A massive mahogany table dominated the center, surrounded by high-backed leather chairs. A projector screen covered one wall, and the company logo gleamed in polished brass above the doorway. Patricia Hendricks arrived 15 minutes early, as she always did. She prided herself on punctuality and professionalism. She greeted her fellow branch managers, making small talk about quarterly numbers and staffing challenges. She accepted a cup of coffee from the assistant and took her seat, smoothing her burgundy suit jacket and checking her reflection in her compact mirror. Everything was perfect. Everything was under control. At exactly 9 o'clock, the CEO of the Southeast Division, Marcus Warren, entered the room. He was a distinguished man in his early 60s with silver hair and a commanding presence. Everyone stood as he entered, a show of respect for his position. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus said, gesturing for them to sit. "Thank you for being here. As you know, we've made some significant changes to our leadership structure, and I'm excited to introduce you to the person who will be guiding our region into the next phase of growth." Patricia listened politely, expecting some executive from corporate headquarters, probably someone she'd have to impress with her branch's performance metrics. Marcus continued, "Our new regional director comes to us with 15 years of experience, a track record of operational excellence, and a deep commitment to community banking. He's going to be instrumental in shaping our strategy and ensuring we're serving all of our customers with integrity and fairness." He paused, looking toward the door. "Please join me in welcoming Raymond Cole." The door opened, and Raymond walked in. Patricia's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. Her breath caught. Her mind struggled to process what she was seeing. It was him, the man from yesterday, the one she'd dismissed, the one she'd turned away, but he wasn't wearing a polo and khakis now. He was in a sharp charcoal suit, a crisp white shirt, and a burgundy tie that probably cost more than her entire outfit. He looked every inch the executive, confident, composed, and powerful. Raymond walked to the front of the room, shook Marcus's hand, and turned to face the group. His eyes swept across the faces of the branch managers, landing briefly on Patricia. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. "Good morning," Raymond said, his voice calm and authoritative. "It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to working with each of you to build a banking culture that serves everyone in our community, regardless of who they are or what they look like." Patricia felt her face flush. Her hands trembled slightly as she set down her coffee cup. Around the table, other managers were nodding, some taking notes, others exchanging glances. No one seemed to notice her distress, no one except Raymond. He continued, "Over the past few weeks, I've been reviewing our branch performance data. There are some concerning trends, particularly around loan approval rates and customer satisfaction. I believe we can do better. In fact, I know we can." He clicked a remote, and the projector screen lit up with a graph. It showed loan approval rates broken down by demographic. The disparity was stark. Minority applicants were being denied at nearly twice the rate of white applicants, even when controlling for credit scores and income levels. "This," Raymond said, pointing to the screen, "is unacceptable. We are a community bank. We serve everyone, and if we're not doing that, we're failing our mission." Patricia's mouth went dry. She knew her branch's numbers were on that chart. She knew they were among the worst. Raymond advanced the slide. This next chart shows customer complaints by branch. Again, there are clear outliers. Branches where complaints have tripled in the past year. Branches where employees are reporting hostile work environments. Branches where the culture has become toxic. He looked directly at Patricia. The Peachtree branch is at the top of that list. The room went silent. Every eye turned to Patricia. She felt her cheeks burning, her heart pounding. She wanted to say something, to defend herself, but the words wouldn't come. Raymond's expression remained neutral, professional. "Yesterday, I visited the Peachtree branch. I went undercover as a potential customer to see firsthand how our staff interacts with the public. I requested a small business loan. I had collateral, good credit, and years of relevant experience, but I was denied within minutes." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. The branch manager didn't ask detailed questions, didn't explore alternatives, didn't treat me with the respect and diligence every customer deserves. Instead, I was dismissed, judged, and sent away. Patricia's hands clenched in her lap. She could feel the stares, the judgment, the realization dawning among her colleagues. Raymond clicked the remote again. The screen now showed a transcript of their conversation. Every word, every dismissive comment, every condescending tone captured in black and white. "I recorded the interaction," Raymond said, "and what I found was a pattern of behavior that violates every value this bank claims to uphold." He looked at Patricia again, and this time there was something in his eyes. Not anger, not triumph, just a quiet, devastating certainty. "Miss Hendricks," Raymond said, "I'm placing you on immediate administrative leave pending a full investigation. You will be escorted from the building after this meeting, and you will not have contact with staff or customers until the review is complete." Patricia's world tilted. She opened her mouth to protest, but Marcus Warren spoke first. "This is effective immediately," Marcus said, his tone firm. "We take these matters very seriously, Patricia. You'll receive formal notification within 24 hours. Patricia sat frozen, her mind racing. This couldn't be happening. She was a respected manager. She'd been with the bank for over 2 decades. She'd built her career here, and now it was crumbling in front of everyone. Raymond continued the meeting, discussing new policies, training initiatives, and accountability measures. But Patricia didn't hear any of it. She was trapped in a nightmare, replaying yesterday's conversation, searching for where it had all gone wrong. When the meeting ended, a security officer appeared at Patricia's side. She stood on shaky legs, avoiding eye contact with her colleagues, and was escorted out of the building. The walk through the lobby felt endless. Every employee seemed to watch her, whispers following in her wake. Outside, the Atlanta sun was blinding. Patricia stood on the sidewalk, her career in ruins, her reputation destroyed, and the full weight of her actions finally crashing down on her. The investigation took 3 weeks. During that time, dozens of employees were interviewed, loan files were reviewed, patterns emerged. Patricia had been denying loans to minority applicants at an alarming rate, often using vague justifications that didn't hold up under scrutiny. She had created a hostile work environment, making dismissive comments about customers and staff alike. She had violated policies, ignored training, and fostered a culture of discrimination. The evidence was overwhelming. Patricia was terminated. Her severance was minimal. Her reputation in the banking industry was destroyed. She would never manage a branch again. Raymond, meanwhile, began the work of rebuilding. He implemented mandatory bias training for all staff. He established clear objective criteria for loan approvals, removing subjective judgments from the process. He created anonymous reporting channels for employees to raise concerns without fear of retaliation. The Peachtree branch transformed. Loan approval rates became equitable. Customer satisfaction scores improved. Employee turnover dropped dramatically. Within 6 months, it became one of the top-performing branches in the region. Raymond didn't take personal satisfaction in Patricia's downfall. He took no joy in ruining her career, but he understood the necessity of it. Because Patricia wasn't just one bad manager. She was a symptom of a larger problem, a system that had allowed discrimination to flourish unchecked, and Raymond was determined to change that system, one branch at a time. 1 year later, Raymond stood in the Peachtree branch during a grand reopening event. The space had been redesigned with input from the community. Local artists displayed their work on the walls. A small business resource center had been established in partnership with community organizations. The branch was no longer just a place to conduct transactions. It was a hub, a gathering space, a symbol of what banking could be when done right. A young black woman approached Raymond, her hand extended. "Mr. Cole, my name is Jasmine. I just wanted to thank you." Raymond shook her hand, smiling. "Thank you for what?" "I came in here 6 months ago, looking for a loan to start my catering business. The new manager, Miss Rodriguez, she listened to me. She worked with me to structure the loan in a way that made sense, and now my business is thriving. I'm hiring my second employee next month." Raymond felt a warmth spread through his chest. "That's wonderful, Jasmine. I'm so happy for you." "I don't know what this place was like before," Jasmine continued, "but I know it's different now, and that matters." As she walked away, Raymond looked around the branch. He saw people of all backgrounds, all ages, all walks of life, being served with dignity and respect. He saw employees who were engaged, empowered, and proud of their work. This was why he'd taken the job, not for the title or the salary or the corner office, but for moments like this, for the chance to make a real difference. He thought about Patricia sometimes. He wondered if she'd learned anything from the experience, if she'd reflected on her biases and grown as a person. He hoped so, but he also knew that some people never changed. Some people spent their entire lives blaming others for their failures, never accepting responsibility for their actions. But that wasn't his concern anymore. His concern was the future, and the future looked bright. Raymond Cole went on to have a distinguished career at First National Bank. He eventually became Senior Vice President of Community Banking, overseeing initiatives that brought millions of dollars in loans to underserved communities. He mentored countless young professionals, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds, helping them navigate the corporate world and break through barriers. He never forgot that day at the Peachtree branch. The day Patricia Hendricks looked at him and saw nothing but assumptions. The day she let her prejudices blind her to his potential. Because that day taught him a fundamental truth. You can never judge a person's worth by their appearance, their clothes, or the color of their skin. Everyone deserves to be seen, heard, and respected. And in a world that often forgets that lesson, Raymond made it his mission to remind people every single day. Patricia Hendricks, meanwhile, faded into obscurity. She took a job at a small credit union in a rural town, far from the prestige and power she'd once enjoyed. She never spoke publicly about what happened at First National Bank. Some said she was bitter, still blaming Raymond for her downfall. Others said she'd simply moved on, accepting her fate. But those who knew the full story understood the real lesson. Prejudice always has a price, and sometimes that price is everything. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.